Yes, good morning everyone, respected dignitaries. Today I'm Prachi Mutha from third year and I will be speaking in the favor of government. So one morning when you wake up and pick up the newspaper, you see that one of the countries, well in fact a major one, has messed up big time and now millions all over the world are affected by an enigmatic virus. What's your first reaction? Well, mine was helplessness. How was I supposed to protect myself from something I know nothing about? That's where the role of government comes in. For the people, by the people, of the people. Ethics behind the democracy is what calls my government to take care of me, my community and the nation. From collaboration with the World Health Organization to cooperation within the community. From issuing guidelines to setting up the standard operating procedures. From providing PPE kits, masks, sanitizers, to dealing with the enormous waste generated, from going door to door for testing to introducing new vaccine. Well, the government is just telling me what to do and what not to do. And also to 135.26 crore Indians simultaneously. That an individual cannot achieve. 1979, Belmont Report, first ever principles of bioethics were laid down. Respect, dignity, beneficence. What are these? Well, simply put, the healthcare individual, by abiding by these ethics, made sure that my grandfather and a grandfather from an underprivileged household were treated equally. These ethics made sure that private sectors opened their doors to each and every individual in this crisis. That the individual was benefited medically and his family was taken care of irrespective of his caste, creed, religion or financial status. That's what ethics do. We hear the success stories of many countries. A shining example of P.B. Nu from Pathanamthitta in Kerala. He averted a massive outbreak by giving an excellent provision for contact tracing. Well, frankly, if I was given the opportunity to contact trace for even one day, the chances are I would even miss out my own maid. Well, being an educated individual, I for once decide to act educated and follow all the social norms. But what about that one neighborhood uncle who simply would not believe in the existence of corona? Well, restrictions are placed on them and that's how your government is rewarding you. We are human beings and we tend to socialize. We cannot stay isolated for long, and then that's where the government helps. We need an authority restricting us. And I lay my defense right here. If you are safe, that's because your government was ethical and accountable. Thank you.
Hello, hello. Yeah, okay. Uh, Good afternoon to each and everyone present over here. I am Swarnima Dote from first year, and I'll be putting up my points on the topic. What is the role, ethically, what is the role of individual in this COVID pandemic? So we have all been going through some challenging times, and this is not the first time the human race has faced an evil greater than itself. So how do we survive this all pandemics and all the evils that we have faced? The only way through which we survive these countless hazards is by cooperation. That is the ability to work together towards a common goal. And when individuals in a community understand and carry out their duties for its greater good, that's how we collectively fight against an evil like that. The SARS, that is the Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome COVID-19, has challenged the whole world in the year 2020, and it has dropped the curtains on how unprepared we are. And the ever increasing number of patients clearly portray that. The only way we are not facing mass extinction is because the people, the citizens have reacted to the situation appropriately in a very less time. And that started by social distancing. We have gone through cutting our own hairs, making our own masks, and carrying out all the much important tasks which were thrown at us suddenly, and we did it quite flawlessly. The duties and the roles of individuals outweighed the collective government, outweighed the collective governing bodies at every step, and the daily wage workers, the laborers, the migrants, the poor and the beggars and the homeless were hit the hardest with this pandemic and the lockdown. So here's when the government didn't think of them, and that's when the individuals had to step up. The duties and roles of each the government's influence and control has been focusing only on implementing and sustaining the curfew, whereas government lagged in providing adequate food supply, masks, sanitizers and all the disinfectants. On a more serious note, the government has also failed in providing the financially weaker sections of the society. The government has failed in providing the financially weaker sections of the society to help them with reaching their respective homes in a safe and sound conditions. The government's job is a lot more than just giving directions, and many incidents during the pandemic and India having one of the highest recorded cases show that government lagged in a lot of different facets where the people collectively stepped up. Government also appealed to near about 92,000 NGOs for help in identifying the coronavirus hotspot and provide
connected.
Here I conclude my speech. Thank you.
Good afternoon to the dignitaries. My name is Chinmay Shaha and I'm from third year. Government, a system that governs, that is conducts the policies, actions and affairs of a district, or on a greater scale, let's directly jump to the nation. As my worthy friend said, it is a foundation laid by the people and for the people. Had all the affairs to be carried out individually, the people would have been so coordinated in concord and would have been such decorated decision makers of the country, it would have been a wonderful place to live in, what say? No conflicts, no chaos and no confusions. But my dear friends, it's just a daydream and not a reality. Let's understand this with a very simple analogy. The students can study and can even pass on their own, but without the management, there will always be a void in their educational conceptual understanding. Everyone will perceive the knowledge of their field according to themselves. Eventually, 10 different multiple meanings will be there for that field, and eventually it will be of no use to the mankind. Similarly, a government is needed to to direct all its people to the best possible path and to the very correct destination. Coming to COVID. COVID gained grounds with an unimaginable speed and affected multitude of people. The exponential rise in the cases has been so swift that nobody and on an individual level has got much time to understand it multidimensionally. Next, I would like to put a light that government has connections with WHO, and also they formed a chain between, formed a bridge or a chain we can say between the common people as individuals and the WHO. We got to know it through the mass media, which only the government can influence. How many of you will go to the newspaper room and say, please print my news, and they have done it the next day? No, it doesn't work that way. Next, I would like to say, how many of you all know what is there in the Constitution of India? Anyone? Neither me. The Constitution of India has an act invoked by the concurrent list 23, the Social Security and Social Insurance Act of the Employment and Unemployment. So let's address the elephant in the room, that is the lockdown which was imposed under this act and the funding of the 5 years and older industries which was done by the government. The government has helped the privileged as well as underprivileged. They have also sent the laborers and the migrant workers to their hometowns. And there is no room for discrimination. The ethics scream and tell there is no room for discrimination. I would rest my speech by saying that Helen Keller always said, alone we can do so little, but together we can go far and do much more. That says it all. Thank you.
Good afternoon everyone. Myself Varnita Khandelwal and I am representing first year. So I totally agree with my colleague Swarnima. Here in my part I will impose on the things which individuals are out to do in this COVID pandemic. Of course, individual plays a very vital role here. The most appropriate example is of Sonu Sood, which we have already heard in these lockdown periods. He, through his act of kindness and humanity, reached out to the needy ones where the government couldn't outstretch. Initiatives taken by him, such as accommodating healthcare, migrating people back to their home, feeding the hungry, were selflessly and ethically his own thoughts. And as it is said, if a person leads a good cause, individuals join to help him for the welfare of society and for the sake of goodness. And coming back to the common people, us, individuals, in the lockdown, who are financially stable, thought of it as a relaxing period. But the people who are daily workers and couldn't afford anything in this lockdown were most affected. So the individual stepped out to lend their helping hands in giving out food, essentials in their neighborhood and wherever they found someone needy. So I would like to continue the point with this virus transmits from one person to another. So on the individual level, we need to adopt some household measures. For example, wearing masks, covering our sneezes, and it is seen everywhere, spitting here and there. That we should stop. So this is very essential to break the chain of the virus. As it is seen in the bowling game, which we see or play, if the ball hits the center pin, the connected one falls. And metaphorically, if we consider the ball as the virus and the pin as an individual, so the individual get affected and the connected ones also. So it's a responsibility of individual to protect themselves and their near and dear ones. I would like to conclude my part with the statements that even the government has put efficient actions, but if the individuals didn't play their share by avoiding going out of the home, this virus could not be averted. Restrictions put by government can only be impactful if the individuals on the individual level decides to follow, and everything cannot be overlanded. It is our moral responsibility to think, to protect and to save our society, our friends, our family and this is all this keeps going. Thank you.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gauri Prashant Joshi, and today I stand here in front of you all presenting my view in the opinion that COVID-19 is the responsibility of the government. Like you all know that on 11th of March 2020, after WHO declared COVID-19 outbreak as a pandemic and reiterated the government of all countries to step up their preparedness and responsive measures. This COVID-19 pandemic is like a freshly cooked challenge before everyone, whether it would be the government or an individual. But government being agile enough is working efficiently. The ventures provided by the government alike, from implementation of the lockdown and maintaining strict rules during lockdown like Section 144, till spreading awareness regarding the coronavirus and what exactly are the symptoms of this virus, along with the importance of wearing masks, maintaining social distancing, and using of hand sanitizer. Also, the most strenuous job was to divide every area into zones like red, orange, and green, and in accordance with that, maintaining police force there. Also, the isolation and sanitization of the containment area, along with the surveillance and the contact tracing of the people who were in close contact with the COVID patient was done. And for this very purpose, the Arogya Setu app is developed by the government. Like creating, publishing, a use of any app is indeed a meticulous job, and this can be better done by the government. Not only this, there are 12,000 quarantine centers, 2,000 laboratories made available by the government. At the same time, the testing of the government had crossed the mark of 10 crores. Also, according to the Health Ministry, 1 million people have been screened at the airports. Indeed, this is a huge number. At the same time, the step-by-step removal of the lockdown is also managed by the government, along with the facing of the outrage of people. And last but not the least, the vaccine trials which are happening all over the world. No individual can alone perform this, like prioritizing the whom should the vaccine given first, like the healthcare workers, then the frontline workers, etc. So this kind of task can be efficiently performed by the government rather than an individual, because the main issue is that there is no uniformity in the thinking of any two individuals. Every individual has his or her opinion, his or her perspective to look at the same situation. But this is not in the case of the government. The government, that is our executive assembly, needs to execute and implement the rules made by the legislative assembly. And if there is any disobedience in the same, then judiciary comes into action. So according to my opinion, this kind of strenuous and tough task can be better performed by the government because of the experienced people, the good part team, and robust planning, rather than an individual alone. Thank you.
Greetings to everyone. I, Ritika Kataria, is standing here to put forward my views on the topic. Who is responsible for public health in this COVID-19 pandemic situation? Well, my answer is us individuals. We, as an individuals, are solely responsible for our own health as well as the health of the people around us. The government has opened its lockdowns. It has raised its hands. Now it's all upon us to make sure that we follow all the guidance and protocols to make sure that we are safe as well as the people around us. We are the one responsible for spreading of this infection, and we are the only one that can break this chain. This pandemic has been really cruel for all of us. People have lost their jobs, their homes, their incomes. The breadwinners of the family are in so much stress for earning for their family as well as making sure that none of them get affected. Can you imagine how deteriorating it must be for their health? That is why it has become a responsibility for us to make sure that we stand with them and provide them with both emotional and financial support. By just being there with them and letting them know that they are not alone, we can play a huge role. By supporting all the small businesses, we can help someone financially. The government can't do that. We are the only one that can stand for our local communities, and we need to do that. The depression rates have skyrocketed during this time. All of us are so stranded that we are lost, and in this way, the people that are around us are the only one that can help us. Supports groups, motivational speakers have all come forward, which are formed by the individuals. Where was the government during this? The homeless people, the people that are unaccounted for the government, we are the only one that can act as their supporting system. It is our responsibility as an individual to provide them with all the support they require, be it financial, mental or health. Shelter rooms have been created by individuals. The individuals have opened their houses for people like them. Do you know how dominoes work, right? If one falls, all the pieces follow. That is how this society works. One of us fail, all of us fail. One of us gets infected, all of us gets infected. Drops of water make a mighty ocean. Even our little health can do a lot of work. If I stand, everyone stands. But a single rotten apple can also, an individual's single mistake can affect the whole society. Hence proved that individuals are responsible for shaping the public health in this COVID-19 pandemic situation. Thank you, and please stay safe.
Thank you, Ritika. It was a valid point that individuals make a wonderful difference. Individuals make a wonderful difference in the society. And then the second round is a rebuttal round. And then we call upon the team from the government, okay, so to rebut their opinions or any queries to the opposite team. So over to government supporting team, Prachimuta or Chinmaisha.
So I would like to speak.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Are we able to hear everything, as Prakash?
No. I think they're ready to start. Prachi? Hello? Prachi? So, Dr. Gaurav?
Yes, sir.
We can't hear you.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible now. Yeah. You're audible now, Chinmay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So the first statement
I would like to cross question is of Swarnima. My worthy friend said that the government has not funded anyone. I would like to question you on what about the 1,000 rupees given to
even in the government hospitals and the private hospitals also. And one of the major scheme of the government, that is Shramik Kalyan trains. How would you explain that? Hello? I'm audible, right? Yeah, okay. So, as ma'am said that the schemes were all implemented and all, but not everyone, and it's not practically possible to provide 135 crore people with all the facilities that were needed, and not 135 crore people received the 1,000 rupees, and most of the people were the hospitals and all, most of the government hospitals were full, the beds were not available. So even those who couldn't afford
the private hospitals had to go there for treatment even though they couldn't afford them, and they, as everyone will want to save their loved ones, so they had no choice but to opt for the private hospitals, and they're sinking in debts provided by private hospitals.
Disconnected.
Sir, I want to cross question this one also. I'm not satisfied with the answer. Excuse me, sir. Hello? Hello? Yeah. We are not talking about the accessibility of the individuals. Here we are talking about the provision of the government. So accessibility is the answer what you gave me. I would also like to tell you that on an average, let's take, the government has been providing 15,000 quarantine centers in the urban area, 1,114 at the panchayat level, 2,000 functional shelter homes, 1,200 government testing labs and 839 private labs. So here we are only questioning the provision and not the accessibility. So how would you explain it?
I like to answer Chinmay ma'am again. Accessibility, the beggars and the daily wage workers, most of them don't even have an identity. It was not accessible to them. A survey was conducted by the Hindu in June, which stated that 94.1% of contracted employees, as against 91% of government employees, were not assured health checkups. 71.1% contractual employees, as against 62% of government employees, worked without mask. 81.9% of contractual workers worked without gloves, compared to 71.4% of government employees. Both of them were not provided with efficient support. That's what I'm talking about. And as for the quarantine centers topic, we all saw in the news, we all saw in the videos how unfunded and the conditions of most of the house, where there was no proper water, no drinking water. The people were not bathed for days. We both know how positive those centers were.
Yes, indeed. In some of the areas.
Sir, you are there.
So am I audible now? Yes, indeed. I'm not a radical thinker. I'm not saying everyone got the benefit, but here we are not talking about India. We are talking about a government body. Many people were saved in West Indies, Taiwan, and even you know about Vietnam and New Zealand. Vietnam, 0 cases since 12th April. They even raised the farm output by 57%. How did that happen? We're not talking about India here. We're talking about government bodies, and they are responsible. Well, you gave a very good answer, so I would like to end the question. Next question, if you have it.
Hello? Yes, sir. It's Vardhana.
Hello?
I'd like
Yes,
to
sir. It's Vardhana.
ask a question to
I'd
Chinmay
like
ma'am
to
that as she said,
ask a
the
question
lockdown
to
is the
Chinmay
elephant
ma'am
right
that, as
here.
she
But what about the times when the coronavirus was detected in China? That is in end of the December 2019. It was detected in China in the end of the December. It started spreading worldwide in January, and by January it has almost covered almost 40% of the world areas. But and even India was informed about this. The President of India was aware about this. But even in January and February, even till March, till 11th March, the international airports were not sealed. Now you tell me, what is more comfortable to see? It's 26 international airports or 130 or a country of 135 crore people. What is more feasible? My exact question is, why didn't government seal the international airports in the first place? That was the medium through which the virus entered the country, right? So why didn't the government seal them? Swarnima, you're since speaking for the individuals. I would like to ask you, as an individual, when did you get to know the first case? When did you get to know the first case which had come here? As an individual, tell me. What March? Exactly. Exactly, I'm asking for the date. At least the Prime Minister, being connected to the government, knew the date, time and when it come and from where. Okay? This is your first question that has been answered. The next question you were asking was? The next. Sir, I was asking her that as an individual, when she's speaking on an individual platform and representing the individuals, when did she come to know that the first case had been invented in India? As she's only speaking of India, I would like to remind you, my worthy friend, we are talking about the government as whole, and we're not talking about the Indian government and the Indian individuals, okay? So second question I would like to answer is that as an individual, you are clueless when the first case had come. I want to say that being Prime Minister, as you pointed him out, I would like to say that Prime Minister at least knew from where it was coming, when, which date, and I guess the time also, this along with the city and the name of the first person's case. My next question is to Ritika. You said that you mentioned in your speech that individual is solely responsible for this, and the government won't support small business. What about vocal for local? That was a great initiative by government. Would you like to answer for that?
First of all, thank you for this question. I wanted this question. What the government did was they told us vocal to local. Just do that. But it came as an... Hello, am I audible now, sir? Am I audible, sir? First of all, I would like to thank you so much for this question. I wanted this. The government gave us an agenda, vocal to local. They just gave it, but it came to an individual to support them. They didn't go to those shops. They didn't provide funds to that shop. We as an individuals.
Keep your mic a little bit here.
Right here. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Okay, again, thank you so much for the question. And I wanted this question to explain my point. The government just said that we need to support, but they weren't the ones supporting. We were the one who had to stop all the online shopping, and we have to come forward and support. Na? The government didn't come, the Prime Minister didn't come down ki please, wo Baba ke dhabe se khate. We as an individuals came forward to support the Baba ka dhaba. Na? So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Dr. Das Prakash for this opportunity to interact with young people, which I really enjoy a lot, listening as well as talking to. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Am I audible, Das Prakash?
Audible, yeah.
So, how much time can I take? Can I take about 5 minutes or 10 minutes? How much time did you foresee? 10 minutes. Okay. I would like to keep to time, so I'm just looking at it's 1:38. Conclude my remarks at 48. So why I'm asking about time is because the debate that you all have chosen is not something that we can settle for today. We will not be able to determine an answer or the right answer. And I think that's very relevant to the wider day of World Bioethics Day that we are celebrating, because ethics also, like the debate topic today you have chosen, is a constant process of reflection. We have to keep critically evaluating our own position, and we have to critically examine it. We have to push ourselves harder. Ethics is very much an internal exercise. As much as we would like to say that, okay, ethics is about deciding right versus wrong, which it is, it's certainly very important to be able to have a framework of ethics which allows us to say, okay, this is right and this is wrong. But that framework sits up, we wield our own lens. How critically are we able to examine our own actions, our own positions on a given issue? So just like the issue of ethics, I believe the underlying debate here is about role of the state versus role of the individual. And I must compliment all the 6 speakers, that is Prachi, Swarnima, Chinmayi, Varnita, Gauri and Ritika, for very passionate and very well-framed arguments coming from a certain position, either speaking for role of the state or role of the individual with respect to health and healthcare in the background of a pandemic situation. First remark is that it's very nice to, very nice to see entirely young women speaking on this. I was just asking Das Prakash whether it's exclusively a women's college, and I would urge maybe the young men out there to also take up debating opportunities and participate in such events. I think that's very important. But I must compliment all these young women for their positions. I think before I go to the specific points you raised, one other point I would like to make is that in a debate we all win, because debate format raises a collective consciousness on a given topic, and it tells us how there are it is. And then in a debate we realize that when you take the position of a migrant worker, when you take the position of an Adivasi woman, when you take the position of a at the same topic. So we realize that in a societal framework, there is not going to be one. Debates are an excellent way of making each of us realize that there are many different ways of looking at a topic. That is the reason we will never settle with the wrong. What we can certainly do is we can say who made arguments, how the arguments are presented and how did they support their arguments. And in that sense, I must confess, firstly, my own bias. I have a view on the question that you posed in the debate. I am biased in favor of governments. So there is a slight disadvantage that the team speaking for individuals had, because you give me the power and responsibility. So again, an important process of reflection, how we come into judgment. We use our own internal frameworks. So my role of the state, and I believe that the team speaking in favor of governments, I think that was Prachi, Chinmayi and Varnita. I might have gotten the Gauri, I think, right? Yeah. I think they made convincing arguments for why governments need to be able to step in, because individuals will only be able to bring in the resources that they are having access to. And we live in a society, we live in a world where access to resources is not shared equally. If each of us had equal access to power, to money, to education, to social networks, then perhaps we could live in a world where individuals would be able to combat pandemics. It would be a matter of
Hello, Dr. Prashant. Hello.
Am I back, Tas Prakash?
Yes. Yeah. We can hear you.
So I'm talking about, I was talking about how resources, various kinds of financial, other various kinds of resources are unequally shared. So, and hence, there is a strong case to be made for role of governments, role of state. But that said, like I think it informed us, it also informed us that it's not only this and only from individual responsibilities, individual a very strong case for how in a pandemic individual choice also is going to shape our collective response. Individual choices, behavioral choices impact on how as a society we deal with the pandemic. So yes, I think it's a very important point that you all made, that individual responsibility, individual thing is important. However, I believe what the team representing individual perspective did not sufficiently make going a bit into liberty, because as an individual, we set aside the role of government, role of state, there is still the idea of, as an individual, what right do I have? To what extent can my freedoms be protected? And for what cause can my freedom, my rights be restricted? And there I think there are interesting arguments to be made for pandemic response. Do governments have the power and ability to curtail individual freedoms, to curtail liberty of expression, of thought, and things like that? I felt that there was, some of you went close to this, but did not fully, address that aspect of the individual, and if you see a lot of philosophical literature on liberty and on individual liberty, etc., you will get very interesting arguments on how individualism is also a very important expression of creativity and of human expression, and how that also is important. So I think overall, to sum up, what the debate tells us is the need for understanding the tensions between multiple perspectives, and not to get into the trap of saying, okay, this is correct and this is wrong. Yeah, and I think that is an important lesson for ethics as well. Ethics is also, as I think soon we will go to the posters, and I was able to look at 3 wonderful posters. Each one of them very interestingly depicts the tension between multiple phenomena in ethics, which try to pull the right answer in their own direction. And I think the right answer, so to speak, is in how we resolve all of these different tensions together. So it may be a bit abstract for many of you. Unfortunately, I don't have the opportunity of knowing more about each one of the speakers. Then I could have made it a bit more relevant to this. But these are some of the thoughts that come to my mind. I conclude by inviting, if you already are not aware of the Oxford Union debate series, it's an excellent debate series which can build skills as a debater. Do Google Oxford Union debating series. One of the popular ones, and this is a students, it's a debating society which has been existing for a very long time by students at Oxford College, and they invite multiple debaters and speakers to debate on issues. For example, a very popular one recently was a debate on whether Britain owns reparations to India, given the huge amount of economic deprivation that colonial rule caused. What do they owe us for everything that they've historically taken? Very interesting debate between multiple speakers. That's just one example. So with that, I really thank all the students and the staff for organizing a debate of webinars and talks, because it builds all our collective wisdom, as opposed to just listening to one person tell us how things are. Thank you. Back to you, Dasprat.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Prashant. And then having you is a different kind of feel for you'll be sitting somewhere in a concrete jungle, but sitting in a jungle with this 4G signal, and then we are really fortunate to have you, Dr. Prashant. Okay, and then we're moving on to the next session. We have a skit by our students based on the theme Principles of Bioethics. I request Dr. Gautami and Dr. Gaurav to screen the video. Over to you, Dr. Gaurav.
Thank you, sir. We'll take in 2 minutes for the video.
Yeah.
Fellow colleagues, I introduce the significance of a bioethicist. The role of the bioethicist is not that of watchdog and specify reality in the context of the demand for bioethics can be seen as being generated by the need to respond to a lack of moral. Described as a branch of the will be respect for cultural diversity. To me, cultural diversity means merging different cultures, introducing good aspects of your culture to others, but also accepting the positives of a new culture. The principles of bioethics are informed consent, patient's comfort, non-maleficence, confidentiality, autonomy, beneficence, dissipation of knowledge. We, the students of MGM Institute of Physiotherapy, would like to showcase these principles in the form of series of acts. So, the first principle is informed consent. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So today we are posted in this OPD.
You are from which year?
Sir, third.
Okay. Today we have a case of Parkinson's disease. Let's learn about the assessment.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, doctor.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Okay, students. Whenever you are going for any physical contact, ask for patient's permission. So, may I, ma'am?
Yes, doctor.
So, see here for patients to posture, wide base of support and tremors.
Sir?
Yes? Coming. Students, observe the gate and take care of patient. I'll be just back in 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. Slowly, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can do it. Hey, her gait is really altered. Let's record for future reference. What say? No, it's wrong. Should we ask her? Harmful. Okay then. Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes? What happened?
Sir, is this a way to behave? They're clicking pictures of me, making fun, giggling, fooling around.
Relax, ma'am.
No, sir, I'm not comfortable here anymore.
Sit
I
down.
really want to discontinue
Sit
my
down.
treatment.
All of you, come to my cabin right now. What did you exactly do with that patient?
So we just took a video for future reference, sir.
And did you ask for a permission?
Sorry, sir. No, sir. Sorry, sir.
What if I click your pictures without asking you? Don't you think it's a breach of privacy?
Here, we understand that consent is of utmost importance when it comes to our patient and his comfort. Never ever ever forget to ask for his permission before any physical contact or clicking pictures or videos. The second principle is patient's comfort. Good morning, students. Today, I want to discuss a very important ethical issue with you. Whenever a male therapist is in a cabin with a female patient, make sure the female therapist will and Good morning, sir. I would like to inspect your shoulder. One second, sir. Is there any male therapist available?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Thank you. Just be here till I complete my assessment. Take every precaution to protect yours as well as your patient's modesty. Patient's comfort is our priority. Third principle is non-maleficence.
Yes?
Sir, he's suffering from severe back pain. Please treat him as soon as possible, sir.
Okay, lie down. Please expose your back and lie down on your stomach. You are comfortable, right? Please tell me whenever you feel pain. Here? Is it paining? Okay, here? No? Okay. That's true. Please consult him and go.
Okay, sir. Thank you. If the condition is not an area of expertise, is a professional. So, do by giving irrelevant treatment. Principle is confidentiality. Hey, hi. Good morning, ma'am. Work wondrously. I have a child, but now I'm pretty confident I'll definitely become a mother. That's great to hear. You have to continue doing those exercises. So today, we end our topic on PCOS. Today itself, we had a patient in our OPD who got relief from the symptoms by pelvic floor rehab, and now she will be able to conceive. It's a great gift for a woman. Ma'am, who was the patient? Ma'am, can we see or personal details of the patient? This is the breach of confidentiality between a therapist and a patient. The next principle is autonomy.
Sir, I would like to discontinue the treatment due to my unstable financial conditions. Please close my...
It's your right and your choice. But we also have some charitable schemes which will help you find.
The patient is in complete power to decide whether or not to continue his treatment and should be allowed to leave whenever he wishes. Never force or make it an obligation for the patient just for your monetary benefit. The next principle, that is beneficence. What is beneficence? The duty of the health provider to ensure that the client in her care is assured of all the benefits of her professional knowledge. And last, the principle is dissipation of knowledge. In this, the patient has the right to information pertaining to his condition. The patient also has the right to make an informed choice of treatment options available to him, as also the right to change providers if he wishes.
thank you so much. I'm audible. Sir Gaurav, Dr. Gaurav, ma'am.
Yes, sir, you are.
Dr. Gaurav? Yeah. So thank you so much. So it was a wonderful presentation. So really hope all the viewers would have enjoyed this speech and then the principles of bioethics. And then we are moving on to the third segment. So the poster competition, the results of the poster competition. So over to Dr. Prashant to announce the results. Dr. Prashant?
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You're audible, Prashant. Yeah.
So once again, thank you for the opportunity to look at these three posters. They were very nicely done, and I hope each of the posters can be put to display somewhere where they can continue to. Yeah. So we in third place, I have found this poster by Shweta. WBD03 was the one. So thank you, Shweta. I'll just make a full poster written down. I thought, Shweta, your poster design was very interesting. It tries to capture the historical to look at ethics coming from religion to begin with, on God telling us what is right and wrong, to a more reflexive practice, what I was talking about. And then you indicate a future, which to me was full of pitfalls, the algorithm-based, AI-driven kind of ethics, and you don't take a judgment on it, which is fine. At least the poster for me did not take a judgment on it, which is fine. And as you know, this is a theme that has been explored by Hollywood, by popular writing, etc., on what ethical pitfalls are there in future. So in that sense, I thought this poster was very nice. Just one comment here was that I felt it's too doctor-centric. We must move away from a entirely doctor-oriented healthcare paradigm to a multi-team related. So there can be ethical problems also with nurses, with physiotherapists, as you have illustrated very well, with other healthcare professionals. So I thought that could be taken into account. So congratulations, Shweta, on this one. I found the WBD01, I think. Yes, I didn't know the names, I just know the numbers. By Bhakti Nirmal, was very beautiful, very colorful, and very visually appealing. What I really liked about this poster is it captures the idea of that tension that we were talking about earlier. Words of all of these terms. So, for example, justice and gender equality might sometimes be a tension. If you do something, you will advance justice, but may not adequately address gender issues. Similarly, various others. We saw in your debate the tensions between individual liberty and freedoms versus role of state. So ethics is all about this kind of taking into account these tensions, especially with the diversity. It's very important to embrace tensions. So I thought this poster did a marvelous job of that. I put that as second. Congratulations to you, Bhakti Nirmal. And WE02, I think. I found this creative. It was very tough for me to, but the ethical bank by, it says Ayushi, was very creative. And here too, the idea, in addition to the tension component, you have brought out the fact that ethics is also about talking to others and checking, about reflection. So who is himself with, should I privilege above? And then the person above also needs to take that decision in coordination with him. I found this very also visually very nice. Except the left part, I wish it could have been better organized. It took me a while to sort of navigate the anagram, or I don't know, the Scrabble format that they have used here. Nonetheless, also very nice representation. The ladder, for example, it's not very clear, but the ladder on which he or she is standing is also having a multi-dimensional kind of thing. So the more dimensions you embrace, the higher you can see, the more you can see. These are the kind of things that came to me as I look at these posters. Over to you, Das.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant, for giving us, for judging the poster presentations. So before I hand over the vote of thanks, I recognize the presence of Dr. Po Vishnu Devi Madam, and then she is one of the most prominent person in bioethics of physiotherapy profession. So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining. And I also recognize the presence of Mrs. Prerna Delvi, ma'am, and then administrative officer for Mahatma Gandhi Mission, and then she was also a continuous force pushing us forward in all our endeavors. And then I request Dr. Sarath Babu, Principal and Chairman, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, to deliver vote of thanks. Over to Dr. Sarath Babu.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir, audible, sir. Yeah.
Very warm and graceful afternoon to.
Sir, your face. Sir. Pardon, sir. Can you just, go a little bit back. Yeah. So that we'll,
Catch there?
Yeah. Just.
Yeah. So, I really thank our chief guest, Dr. Prashant, and the teachers, students, and everyone gathered here. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks, which and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked really hard to make this World Bioethics Day celebration happen. On behalf of MGM Institute of Physiotherapy, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Prashant, who spared time for his busiest schedule to grace the occasion. In starting itself, Dr. Das told, at present he is in some kind of forest, right? So,
sanctuary.
Yeah, it's sanctuary, yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage us in our future. Enlightened and have my great in the today. So the audience spoke excellently, and first this debate, it is your first year and final year. Of course, I was supporting my first year students, but unfortunately, anyhow, once they'll come to final year, definitely they will catch up the competition. And also, students have done excellent job by performing the skit. I talented and brilliant students who have participated in the skit competition. Students do anything to make this event better through the skit. Students have nicely explained about the principles of bioethics to all of us. I also thank and congratulate the students who have participated in the poster competition also. They have done an excellent job by making these posters. I would also like to thank the people who have worked behind the scene to make this event happen. Especially I thank the today's moderator and IQAC coordinator, Dr. Das Prakash, for moderating this excellent session, and Dr. Gautami, who trained the students for this wonderful skit. They worked a lot for this skit editing purpose, since 1 week. And I thank Dr. Gaurav for the technical support and our skipping staff for the stage setting. My sincere thanks to our management, our administrative madam, Mrs. Prerna Delvi madam, for the constant support. And once again, I thank you all for making this event very successful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, moderator. Thank you for joining us on this afternoon. Thanks to Dr. Prashant for joining us from the Tiger Sanctuary. We feel really connected from the concrete jungle to the real jungle. Thank you, Dr. Prashant. And then signing off from this meeting, and then we will see you in the next session. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.